Hey, Adventure Girls, it's Senka here, creator of Funnily Enough Adventure Girls and the Why She Adventures conversation series. And today I've got an awesome woman with me who I met, we were just reflecting, probably about a year ago when I was doing my travels through the South Island, living out of the back of my four-wheel drive, tank to tank. And I put a message out to Christchurch and said, hey girls, I'm in Christchurch, does anyone want to do anything? And this lady said, yeah, let's go for a walk. And she took me up the Harry L and we did this cool walk up to the top of the Port Hills, my first ever walk through there. And we had the most interesting conversation. And when I found out all the cool stuff she did, when I was putting this series together, I was like, if she doesn't say yes, I might actually cry. So, ladies, I want to introduce you to Corrine, who is going to be sharing all her cool stuff, like we did when we did our walk up through the Port Hills. So, Corrine, thanks so much for joining me on this. I was so excited when you said yes. I was like,
yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I was just like, oh my god, I'm so boring. Like, why would anybody want to talk to me? I don't. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just frame this for you, ladies. Once we have talked about the stuff that she has done, I don't think you'll think boring is any of a word to describe her. So, but what I love is that you're just like, you're just going about your everyday life. But then, like I said, when we went for this walk, you're like, oh yeah, so I've gone up there, I've hiked up there, and I've, you know, we did take crampons, or we should have taken crampons, but we didn't. Oh yeah, I may have cycled the length of New Zealand, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, girl? So boring is definitely not a word I would use to describe you, or the adventures that you've been on. So the you know, alluding to in this here, one of the things that stood out for me is, you know, you have done the Tour Aotearoa, which,
yeah,
I'm going to explain that for anybody who doesn't know what that is, because that's no like I'm just going to go ride 10K.
Yeah. So the Tour Aotearoa it's a 3,000-kilometer bikepacking adventure. So it's all self-supported. You carry your own stuff. You know, there's no one in a camper van waiting at the end of each day. So you carry your own stuff. So that's from Cape Reinga all the way down to Bluff, and it follows mostly the New Zealand cycle trails. There's a few sort of road sections, but yeah, you get to experience like all these really cool mountain biking trails and gravel roads and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow. So how long did that take you? Like,
So the first time it took me 27 days. So there was kind of a rule to begin with. I don't know if it's still in place, but you had to do it within 30 days. So it's about 100k a day. So yeah, the first time was 27, and then the second time was 25. But I think I kind of learned with something like that, you just really want to pace yourself anyway, like, because you just want to experience. New Zealand is so great, and you just want to experience everything that you can. So there's really no rush. Like, there's no need to bike, you know, in the middle of the night or anything like that. It really is about taking your time and just enjoying how amazing this country is.
wow. So you've done it twice, and just before I got on the call, I was like, is there going to be another time that you're going to do this? And the answer was,
Yeah, I mean, I really love it, and I think like the second time I did it, it was more to see if I'd sort of learned and grown within myself from that first time, because that first time was a real kind of transformative kind of experience. And so the second time was like, am I strong enough to be able to do it again? But like, it's just something I really like. The second time I did it, and I was like, I actually really love this. Like, I love, you know, because you don't see the same thing twice. You always something different that you didn't see last time, and you meet different people, and everyone's got this amazing story to tell. And I think that's what I really, really love about it. So yeah, I have kind of blocked out that sort of period next year to be able to do it again. So hopefully I just need to officially enter now. So yeah.
oh my God, that's so exciting. I love what you just said there, like doing it a second time around to see if you've learned and grown, because I guess when you go to do something that's that big,
Yeah.
like the first, like I can only make an assumption, and you can definitely tell me your version of this. the first time around, there's a sense of not knowing. So it's like, you know, there's going to be some challenges, and you suck it up and you do them because you've got to, you know, you want to get to the end.
Yeah.
The second time you're going in, you're like, you know, where the shit was hitting the fan, and you were mentally pushed at times. So it's like, there's no, oh, that we'll just figure it out on the way. It's like, there's going to be some tough stuff. So tell me about like the first time versus the second time, like.
Oh God, it's
Let's start with, tell us about the first time you did it. Like,
okay.
Wise, like how did you? Let's start with this. How did you even decide I'm going to cycle the length of New Zealand? Like, what were you doing? Were you doing stuff before that, or did you know?
No. So the Tour Aotearoa was literally like, I had mostly been doing running, so I entered like a lot of races. I did all that kind of stuff, and I really love cycling. And the seed was sort of planted a couple of years earlier when my dad gave me this book, Cycling in New Zealand, and it was from the 80s. and I was like, how cool would it be to like cycle the length of New Zealand? And then the opportunity sort of came up. Somehow or other, I had become friends with the Kennett brothers on Facebook, and then they put it.
That's so great, right? If you ride, you'll know who they are, and if you don't, go Google them.
They're amazing. So I think I've got all of their books, I think. But, so I was friends with them on Facebook. They put out a post saying, you know, we're doing this event, if you want it. And I thought, well, you know, if not now, when am I going to do it? And I think it was, to me, it was like the fact that it was an event was kind of pushed me to you'd actually go there. If you keep saying, oh yeah, you know, I'll do it one day, you sort of never get there. But when you commit to the date, you commit to the whole event, and then you end up doing it. But the first Tour Aotearoa, and I'll be honest, like the first 2 weeks there were a lot of tears, and there was a lot of just kind of like, you know, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I want to quit. I want to just stop, get the next bus back to Christchurch. But of course, like, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you've got to just depend on yourself. And I had a really sort of, I think the light bulb moment sort of came after, but I had a really tough time through the Timber Trail, because like that section of the centre of the North Island, like, it's so hard, and it was a really hot, I remember it was a really hot day that day, and I was so tired, and there were so many hills, and I was like, I cannot do this. I'm not strong enough to do it. And so I had a really dark sort of moment on the Timber Trail, and it was like, right, I'm quitting. And then got to Taumarunui, and I was like, well, actually, I actually need to get to Wellington to be able to get home. So I thought, well, I might as well carry on. So carried on, got to Wellington, and I thought, oh, thank God, you know, I'm almost home. I can forget this whole thing ever happened. And then I got to Picton, and I sort of had this conversation with a girl in the hostel, and, you know, I was in such a dark place. Like, it was like, you know, I was just in tears all the time, and, you know, it hadn't been the thing that I sort of expected it to be. I thought it'd be this, you know, on Instagram you see these people on adventures and they're like, oh yeah, you know,
hashtag living my best life.
Yeah. And it hadn't been like that at all. And I sort of, we both sort of ended up having like this therapy session with each other, because she had her own things going on. And I said, she turned around and she said to me, you know what, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for getting this far. And she said, whatever you do after this, it doesn't matter, because I'm proud of you right now for what you've done. And I was like, wow, you know, from a stranger, that is so amazing. And I thought, you know what, I looked at the sign the next day, and, you know, there's a big sign at Picton, and it says, you know, Christchurch, you know, 500 odd kilometres away. And I was like, you know, I think I got this. I think I've got it now. Like, I know the South Island. I know what I'm doing. I'm so comfortable here. Let's just carry on. And so I carried on and finished.
Oh my gosh. So how was it finishing? Like, you know, you've gone through like what sounds like not a fun, you know,
Yeah.
not a fun level of adventuring.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm finishing it.
Yeah.
I've got it. And then
Yeah.
actually crossing the line, like what was that last 500 kilometers like?
Like the South Island is amazing, and it was just like I was at home, so it was so cool. And you know, being near the mountains and just even the riding, like once you get to the West Coast Wilderness Trail, like it's just gorgeous. And the riding just really flows a lot more. Well, it did for me. It flowed just so much better in the South Island. It was still really hard, but there weren't any tears. Yeah, so it was still really hard, but the very end at Bluff was it was quite bittersweet because I just sort of wanted it over and done with by then, and I sort of biked there. I got there about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was like pissing down with rain, and it was windy, and I was like, well, this is not quite the finish I imagined, but I've done it. And then I ended up biking back to Invercargill, and my friend lives in Invercargill, and she texted me at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she said, "What are you doing? Come over to my house right now." So yeah, it was kind of bittersweet, but you know, the months after there was a lot of reflection, and especially just with the fact, like I said, I had that really dark moment in the timber trail, and it was when I reflected on it, it was like I pulled myself out of that, and I was able to do that, and I was able to carry on, and you know, I should do that with everything. You know, whenever I feel like, oh, you know, this is too hard or whatever. No, I've been in that situation where I can pull myself out. So, like, it was just such a reflective time. And then to be able to say to people, like, well, I cycled the length of New Zealand, it was fucking hard, but I did it. Like, that's pretty amazing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I fucking love that your story has that in it, because, you know, like to cycle the full length of that and not to have grown or found, I don't think you can plan an adventure like that and not expect to find parts of you that you never knew existed. So
Yeah.
you know, whether that's your inner strength, your stickability, your resilience, and all that stuff, I don't think you can go on something like that.
Yeah.
And you can only prepare to a level.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Like, I'm going to go, okay, I got this. When it's hard, I'll just keep going. And then it's like, and then it happens. And
just the light bulbs start going off. And I mean, even when you have that sort of strength and you know that you can do stuff like that, it doesn't make the rest of it easier, but it makes you, I think, a bit more what's the word, so kind of, you know that you can pull yourself out of those situations even when you're down. You know that you can get back up, you know you can fall 8 times and then get up another one more time just to get it done. So like in that respect, like it just taught me so much about myself, and that, you know, I should never give up. Like I wanted to give up so bad, but then, you know, finishing it actually, you know, I sort of grew another level inside of myself. So yeah,
it's so funny, the growth, you know, like the grapple is where we get that growth and that expansion. Yeah. And then that's where the glory then comes, like, of knowing yourself, like, as being able to do something that hard, you know. Like but I think it's like, because in everyday life we can shy away from those really challenging situations and not necessarily put ourselves in it. And you know, you don't need to be under all that pressure all the time in everyday life, but to put yourself in those places that really get you to grapple with who you are and how you're being and that stuff. Like, I just want to take my hat off to you, because that story, and then you go, hey, I'm just going to go do it again. And I'm like, girl.
I was just really interested to you know, with those same things. Like I said, I cried all the time, the hills were awful, even just that, you know, I had sort of a sense in that first time as well that I didn't belong there, because I was there with a backpack and sneakers and a mountain bike I bought 2 weeks beforehand. And then, you've got all these people who have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on their bikes and their gear, and and they're saying, oh, I'm going to do this in 15 days. And I'm like, oh, I took the whole month off work to do this. I didn't realize it was a race. So there was like a huge thing of like, I didn't belong there. And so when I went back and did it the second time, I obviously had learnt quite a bit from that first time, and obviously had different gear. I had the same bike, but yeah, the second time it was also that the sections as well that I really struggled with mentally. I was really interested to know if I would be able to deal with those a bit better, and like I think the second time I climbed every single hill climb I managed to climb. I didn't cry. And there was just that section, it was that same section of the timber trail that just sort of was probably the lowest point, but it wasn't as bad as it was the first time. And it was, definitely, I remember going through that centre of New Zealand, and it was like, okay, this is hard, but I can do this, I can get through. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you're going to go do it a third time?
Yeah, just like I said, like it's so fun, and just the people are so amazing. Like I love listening to people have different reasons for you meet cyclists along the way, and they have different reasons for being there. Even the people the trail angels who come out and leave snacks and water and stuff. There's just some amazing people in New Zealand, and yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So what was the biggest, what were the biggest things that you changed going into the second time that you did it? So like first time, bought a bike 2 weeks before the trip. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Doing it with a backpack.
Yeah.
But girl.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So I had, so the second time around I had proper bike bags. I think I kept most things the same, but yeah, it was just basically the way that I carried all my stuff was different. And I always made sure that I had heaps of water on me. So that was pretty much the only things that I changed really. And I probably trained a little bit more for it. So so that's why I was able to do all the hill climbs the second time around. But that first time, like I really had no idea what I was doing, and it was just sort of like, I'm just gonna do it, see what happens. It was like, admittedly it was horrible, but I'd learned from that, and the next time it was much more pleasant.
And do you have any expectation going into this time around? Are you going in with a particular frame of mind about going in for your third ride?
Not really. I just want to have fun. Just ride my bike every day, stop wherever I need to stop, and just have fun with it. It'll be like, no doubt it'll be hard, but I think I can deal with that now. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit of logistics then, because part of me wants to know, like, you go, okay, so you're ross cycling the length of New Zealand, and then I'm like, what do you take? Like, where do you stop? How do you camp? Like just some of that real, like, logistical, practical stuff that if there's anyone who's watching this who's heard Corrine's story and she's like, yeah, I want to do that because I want to challenge myself. So like, what are some of the things? Let's start with like day-to-day kind of like things that you like. How would your days roll out? What would you do food-wise, camping-wise? Like, what was a typical day?
Yeah. So I would I would kind of sort of do a little bit of homework the night before. So I'd be like, okay, where realistically can I get the next day? And I'd sort of have 3 goals. So I'd have one if I was feeling really crap, and so it'd only be like 50 to 80 k's away, and then you'd have another one if you're feeling good, which would be the ideal. And then if you're actually feeling really, really good, okay, maybe I can make it there, sort of by dark. And so I'd have 3 goals of where I'd want to go, and then you kind of reassess that obviously along how the day goes. In terms of food, like I tried not to carry too much, going into some of those sections where you know, there's no amenities for ages. Like timber trail is one of them. Yeah, like you would obviously carry food, and I just chuck that. I sort of chuck. I had lots of Nutella. Nutella and wrap, really, really good when you're hungry.
I love it, love it.
Yeah, obviously water, and I really like I really like salts, because obviously you sweat a lot, and yeah, the salted chips would really, really help me. So I would take stuff like that, and for dinners and stuff, I just sort of had like either 2-minute noodles or just sort of cafe type of food. But yeah, I mostly stopped at, you know, cafes and stuff like that to get my main meals in, and then sort of at night it was really just about recovering from that extra bit that I'd done, because then that saved me a lot of weight carrying food around. Yeah.
Cool, I love it. Yeah, because it's funny. I originally pictured taking your food, but then, as you say, you're going through some towns and stuff like that. So, for greater portions of it, I assume you can reach a location where you can grab something to eat, or you're always riding through something. You know,
Exactly.
like the timber trail and all of that kind of thing. So
yeah. There's a lot of cafes along. There's a lot of cafes along the way, so it's really good.
How many pies can you eat along the way?
Yeah.
Pie stops for sure. Hot chips and pies, that would be amazing.
Oh, definitely. I tell you, the best cheese toasty I ever had was at that wee food caravan outside Tane Mahuta.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, best cheese toasty I've ever had.
You heard it first here, ladies. Best cheese toasty. That's amazing. And so what did you take for like so everyday wear, showering? Did you camp? Like what other how did that sort of logistically work as well?
Yeah, so I'm a really budget traveller. so I just had a wee bivvy tent and my sleeping bag. So the bivvy tent's basically all I can do is lie down in it. So I can't sit up, I can't stand up or anything. So it was big enough sort of for me to lie in and chuck my gear in. So that was really packed down, really, really small. And what I actually tried to do, I know there's a lot of bikepackers who sort of do wild camping and stuff, but I think one of the cool things is like you get to go through these different regions and really support those local businesses. You know, when you go to that cafe, you're supporting that business, you're supporting those people, their families and stuff like that. So I always tried to stay at a campground, or, you know, in the South Island, I probably stayed at backpackers a bit more just because it was a lot colder. Yeah. But yeah, I really feel like, you know, we're traveling through the community, like why not kind of give something back? So yeah, I didn't do too much wild camping. I did stay at a couple of dock campgrounds, but yeah, most of it was at proper campgrounds where you could shower, which is really important to me.
Yeah. It's so funny, like, you know, I think we all have our like there's some things that if we can fit them in,
yeah,
like stay at a campground and have a shower, you're kind of like, if I can make that work logistically, why would I not?
Exactly.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that you talk about like stopping at the local restaurants and cafes and campgrounds to support the local communities, because you're right, like you're going to some really remote regions, you know, and that stuff really does impact the local community, especially when there's something like a big event like the Tour Aotearoa. Do you roughly know how many people participate in them?
The first year, I think there was 300. 2018, I think there was 6 waves, so that's 600 people, and then some people may have pulled out though, so that may not be. And I think for 2020, they're probably looking at sort of 800 people. So it's growing so much.
Yeah, my cousin is actually talking about it, and he's trying to talk my brother into doing it as well. So, because that doesn't happen every year, does it?
The event is every 2 years, but I mean, you can do it anytime. Like it's, you know. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
cool doing it. It's cool doing it with lots of people because, like I said before, you just meet so many people with different stories and why they're doing it. It's, yeah, amazing.
So who were some of the really inspiring women that you met maybe along the trip as well?
Um, there
Or
actually,
was it mostly guys?
yeah, I didn't actually meet a lot of women. There were on the first time around there were two girls that I biked with in the South Island, Katie and Carmela. I remember them. They were really amazing, and they had done all this traveling and all. I think one of them was like a snowboard instructor and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then the second time around, actually, I met this amazing woman. Her name was Alessandra, and she was 71.
What?
And she was doing it with her husband. He'd obviously talked her into it, but she was so amazing. Like, I met them, I think, in the South Island, and there's still some really steep climbs. Like there's the Mangatapu, which is just outside of Pelorus Bridge, and then it goes over into Nelson. That's one of the toughest climbs on the trail, and like she was so amazing. She did that, and we were sort of waiting for, because we all sort of rode together, and we were sort of waiting at the top of the saddle when she came up. And I remember him. He was so sweet. You know, he said to everyone, "Look, this is my wife. I'm so inspired by her. She is so amazing. 71 years old to be doing this." And I just thought, wow, that is an amazing relationship that they have. So there were a couple of other women there, but I think she was probably one of the most amazing that I'd met then.
Wow. I hope at 71 I'm still doing cool shit like that. Like that is just amazing. Like it
Yeah,
really just shows you there are no limits. Like
exactly.
we're only limited by what we decide we think we can and can't do. Like they're really like, you know, there's probably people in their 20s that are watching this, 30s, 40s, going, oh, I don't know if I'm fit enough. Oh, I might be too old, 50s, 60s. It's like, 71-year-old lady. Like, come on,
71.
girls, 71. Come on, ladies.
Yeah, yeah.
That is amazing. So, oh, I'm like, I just 71. That's such an amazing age. How was it crossing the finish line the second time compared to the first time for you?
It was so much better. So I sort of got to, so after Queenstown, you go through the Around the Mountains Trail and you sort of head down to Mossburn. And on that day, I had got to Mossburn sort of around 3 o'clock, and I thought, you know, I've got some options here. Like I've cycled to Bluff in the middle of the night before. I could do that again, get this over and done with, or, you know, I could stay in Mossburn, or I could just keep riding and see where I ended up. And then I ended up sort of having, I just sort of stopped and had a look on the maps, and there was actually like a wee campground like in the middle of all of that, and it was only about 40 k's away. And I was like, right, well, I'll get there, and then the next day is just a really sweet 90 k down to Bluff.
Just a
So
casual 90.
yeah, it's so nice and flat the rest of the way after the Von Hill. It's just nice and flat, and it really is just quite a casual ride. But I was like, actually, I'm going to go for that one because it means I can just sort of cruise down to Bluff. It'll be daylight, and then I can sort out somewhere to stay and sort of actually sort of take in that I've finished it. So yeah, the second time getting in there, it was quite cool because there were actually people there. And, there were a couple people that had just finished, and then I went and had some lunch, and it was brilliant.
That sounds like a much more glorious way to come across the finish, and you know, like you can really kind of celebrate and relish in that completion of it. So
Exactly, yeah.
so what do you think, why do you think more women should do this adventure? And I know you've done, like, we're literally just talking about Tour Aotearoa with you, but our conversation when we did the walk at Hariel is you've done these amazing walks, you've created calendars, you've actually got a book about this. So there's like, we're only talking about one topic, so there's more to all of that, but we can do another conversation about that another time, the other stuff another time. But if there were like women out there that were thinking like, why should more women go and do this adventure? Because it's like you're going on your third time on this one, so there must, there's something that's pulling you into it. But why should more women go and do this type of adventure?
I think it would just build a lot of confidence. Whether you're a good rider or not, whether you've even ever ridden a bike before, like just the confidence you can get from riding, even if you just did a section of it, just being out there and experiencing. And I've said this a lot, it's just that experience as well of connecting with people, and that's, apart from the riding, that's probably the biggest thing that you can get on the tour, is how you can connect with other people and how you see that other people live. Even in Christchurch, like I think that we've seen sort of everything here, but you sort of go up to Northland and it's a totally different way of life. And so if you're looking for another perspective, I would encourage somebody to do the Tour Aotearoa, just to see how other people are living, what kind of resources they have in those regions, and just the type of people they are. Like, some of the people I met, the things that they've been through, like they were so resilient and so compassionate, and I think we need more of that in this world, and the more that we experience it, the more that we give it back as well. So yeah, I think it's a fun adventure, it's really great, but that's one of the things that I really love about it, is that connection with people. Yeah,
that's amazing. That just makes my heart so happy to hear stuff like that. So what are two of your best pieces of advice that you give anyone that's thinking about doing the Tour Aotearoa then?
Get your training sorted. Yeah, I did a lot more training the second time, and it definitely helps on the hill climbs, so you won't be uncomfortable. So definitely do hills, because the first 90-mile beach is obviously flat, but after that, Northland is like, it's notorious for the rolling hills. So you don't want your first 5 days to be awful. So yeah, get that hill training in. That would definitely be my advice. And I think as well, just have fun. Like, don't put pressure on yourself to try and finish within 2 weeks, or really enjoy what you're doing. That's all. Yeah, that's all I just really want to encourage with that, is just have so much fun, because I've done it twice, but for some people they may only be able to do it once. So yeah, just have so much fun with it and just enjoy everything about it.
That's awesome. On that trail, what would you say your 3 most favorite places were that you were just like, and I guess it might vary depending, because trip 1, trip 2, but if you can kind of mash those together and go, these places stood out in my heart for whatever reason, like.
Yeah, I would probably say, in terms of riding, the West Coast Wilderness Trail is amazing. Yeah. It's just so good. It's just quite a good refreshment after you've had some really tough sections, and then you got this really nice flowy trail. West Coast Wilderness Trail, even if you just did it on your own, as not part of the tour, I'd highly recommend that trail.
It's on the bucket list.
It's cool. The second one would probably be I really love the Around the Mountains trail in Queenstown. So you take the boat from Queenstown, and then you go across Lake Wakatipu, and then over the mountains. So yeah, I really love that. So, and then the third one would be Northland. Just Northland in general, I think it does have a special place, because of obviously that first time I was just so, like, I hated it so much. But even during those times, just the people there, I have never met such resilient and compassionate people. And some of them just took me in as well. Like they were so nice. Some of them were on the side of the road and they would give you fruit, and it just the kindness that I found there was just really amazing.
It's a whole different vibe up in the Northlands, right? Like, yeah, like especially compared to the South Island, like it is like just visually really contrasting.
Yeah.
And just like it's just a totally whole different vibe. It's so beautiful up that way. I definitely do not get up enough that way.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So what would be your one message then for women who want to have more fun and adventure in their lives, but they're afraid of taking that step?
I would say just do it. I sort of have this thing for myself, like it takes a lot for me to get motivated and do stuff, but I sort of say, right, we'll just do one thing. And it might not, like, if I want to go for a run, I was like, all right, well, I'll just get my shoes on. Okay. And then it's like, I still don't want to go for a run. All right, let's go check the letterbox. And then that's my next step. And then, well, I'm outside now, I might as well go. So, yeah, just take little steps, and then eventually, like, you'll be lost and you'll be doing the thing that you didn't want to do. So, but yeah, I've been afraid. I've been afraid of doing things. But if you don't push yourself, you're never going to know. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Take little steps and just get started. Don't try and eat the whole elephant at once.
That's right. Yeah.
Climb the whole mountain straight away. Just get out and do something. It's a perfect piece of advice. Now, I said earlier that you wrote a book after doing your first trip, right?
No, it was after the second trip.
Oh, second trip. Sorry,
yeah.
Second trip. So you did a book, because I have seen your book floating around out there. What drove you to create the book after doing the trip?
Well, it was basically just to say, I wrote it just to say thank you to those people who helped me, like those people who took me in at 9 o'clock at night and said, hey, here's a bed. So I wrote it just to say thank you to those people and the people who sort of supported me. Because when you tell people you're cycling the length of New Zealand, like the biggest reaction you get is like, what? Are you crazy?
What, girl?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who sort of encouraged me and really were like, do it. This is amazing. So yeah, I sort of wrote it just to kind of collate, because people always want to hear the story. So yeah, I just put all the photos and the story into a book and sent it off to the people who helped me, and there were a couple of copies went to like the people who've always sort of been there and supported me as well. Yeah.
Is the book available for anybody else to get their hands on?
Oh, I think I still have the ebook version. So yeah, if anybody wants the ebook version, they can drop me a line and I'll send it through.
Awesome, that'd be lovely. I've said, because I saw the hard copy book and it looked amazing. So I was just like, it would be awesome for other people if they want to read your story and stuff like that to be able to tap into that. So they can certainly message you to buy the ebook from you and have a read through your actual story if this has already kind of got them super excited about doing it. So it feels like we'll have to park all the other adventure stuff that you've done, and we'll talk about that on another thing. So we'll just do a nice little cliffhanger for anybody watching this. Stay tuned for more adventures, but that's how it is. Like I said to Corrine when we get on this call, it's just like there's just whatever falls out of the conversation will be what we talk about, and that's what we're meant to talk about. So today it's all about that. But you've got some good hiking stories up your sleeve.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we'll do a whole other series about that one. That's awesome. Hey, look, if anyone wants to reach out to you to get their hands on that ebook, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Probably through my Instagram. Yeah.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's Artie's Imaginarium. So yeah, just search me up there, and you can find out more there. I've got lots of photos of. I always, throwback Thursday to the Tour Aotearoa. So.
Awesome. Well, make sure we get the link, and we'll put that with this video so that anyone who wants to connect up with you can and follow some of the cool stuff that you do, because I think you're fully inspiring. And that's like,
Oh,
I have to say, there's no way somebody has watched this and would ever say that this is boring, like you have a boring life. Like,
oh, I hope.
it's been a total pleasure to have you on the Why She Adventures conversation series. I know for a fact that you would have inspired probably a couple of women to
Yeah.
put that Tour Aotearoa onto their Adventure Girls bucket list.
Oh, I hope so. It's, yeah, like I say, like it's so amazing, and I honestly think all New Zealanders should do it. I really think politicians should do it, because then they'd get a real good snapshot of what New Zealand is actually like. But if you want to meet some kind, compassionate people, you'll find them on the tour. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, like what a way to see New Zealand, like, because that's one of the big things that through Adventure Girls and the Why She Adventure stuff is it's really been about inspiring women to get out into our own backyard. I get lots of ladies going, oh, we've got adventures going overseas, can you share that? And I'm like, that's cool, but no. New Zealand is stunning. Like, never in my lifetime will I see enough of New Zealand.
Exactly.
And I go away, sure, I do some trips overseas, but I just come back to New Zealand and I go, no, I'm here to stay. Like, right now in my life, I could not imagine living anywhere else except New Zealand. And if there were only more weekends to be able to explore more of it, like, it would be, that would be living the dream.
Perfect. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so it's just like, so you've just given me 3 more things to put onto my list of those places. The West Coast Wilderness Trail is definitely on my Adventure Girls bucket list. Like, I want to ride that. So that looks just beautiful. The West Coast, I know, is stunning.
Yeah.
So immersed in that for that period of time, it just looks beautiful. So
it really is.
Awesome. All right, that's been a total pleasure. If you guys want to get in touch with Corrine, you can get a hold of her and her Instagram. And if you want to get your hands on that ebook, I would totally recommend it, because it would be a crime not to see all the beautiful photos and hear her story at another level. So here's to getting more ladies out doing cool shit, eh?
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.